I'm Roniel.
I'm DaRon.
Oh man, and today we're going to talk about something that really tickles my fancy, and it's a little bit about whether or not, and I'm going to say whether or not you should have two or more testers on an engagement, and why you should have two or more testers, why it's important to have them, especially if you are somebody that is a beginner or a junior level. So, DaRon, my question to you is, why should you have two or more people on an engagement? And how important is it?
There are a lot of reasons, right? So from a
Yeah.
corporate perspective, it makes a lot of sense. For one of the big reasons you just said, if I have 2 or 3 people, I can put a junior level or a new person on there and they can get experience. Not being a water boy or water girl.
Water boy, water girl. Anybody, that's a good reference to Adam Sandler's Water Boy.
But
water sucks.
That's right. That's right. But by actually doing and watching other people do, not by, standing over their shoulder. I don't know about you, but whenever someone's looking over my shoulder, it makes me not very happy. We'll leave it at that. It offers you the opportunity to embrace new talent and then bring them up in a way where they can actually see and do. And most people really learn best in that kind of environment. You'll hear everyone that says, do more training and capture the flags and read more books and all this other stuff. Yeah.
No capture the flag. None of that. That's not going to teach them shit. And it's not real world experience.
That's right. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about an assessment, an audit, a penetration test, or, a threat assessment, risk assessment. It makes no difference. When you're talking about those simulated environments, they really are not, they're never remotely close to the real thing.
No, that's why it's always great to have somebody you can shadow. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't want to use the word look over your shoulder so you wouldn't have a, freak out, but somebody you can shadow. It had helped me a lot being able to shadow people to see what they actually do, how they go about in their methodology. And then I can use that to determine my own methodology and how I want to go through those different steps. But it's like real on the job training,
right? Not
just, hey, I'm going to sit here and watch a course all day and then see if that actually works, and not actually putting it in use or seeing it done.
Right. Now, obviously, of course, that should be coupled with some kind of reading and training and watching videos. But really, you're going to get the most by watching someone and actively being a part of it. And then, but there are other benefits, right? So you and I have different skill sets. We have different emphases. We have different talents and different thought processes. So if we're both on an engagement, you'll see things that I won't see because I'm too focused on some other things, and I'll see things that you won't see. And this is why even if you have a team full of seasoned personnel, you still want to have them at least pair. And then you'd bring that third person in if they're junior or if you're trying to train them up on something specific. And it gives them an opportunity. Maybe you're an expert in software and I'm an expert in hardware. That's right. Yeah. And the two of us get together on an engagement. Now, not only can we cover both sides of the equation, plus maybe one of us has that physical security experience. So we're getting that holistic perspective, but at the same time, we're also able to learn from each other. You're able to sit there and say, oh, okay, so that's how you would tackle this and that. And I'd be able to do the same thing. So it gives a sounding board to make certain that, DaRon's not gone insane yet, at least not in the workplace. Mm-hmm. And it also gives even seasoned professionals the opportunity to, one, get a mental check. Hey, am I doing it the best way? 2, you came from some other place. I came from some other place. What do you have to offer? And what do I have to offer that would enhance the process? And it's just a different perspective.
You learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I noticed is if you don't have what we usually call technical oversight for somebody that's on the team that's actually looking over, that might be the third person, and there may be two other people on the engagement, is by reading that senior professional or consultant or principal or whatever reports.
Right.
A lot of times you can get a lot out of it if they're not doing it or you don't have it in the program. Have some, your juniors read the reports as well, and also couple them with, being on the engagement and shadowing. But if they're reading a report, I find a lot of benefit by reading other people's report. Like when we worked together, I looked at a lot of your reports and it gave me a lot of benefit of things that I was probably not looking at, and another way to do something that may be more efficient than I wasn't doing. So that helped as well build me to who I am as well. So
that's exactly right, because it could very well be that you happen to have a different way of seeing things in the engagement, and I have a different way of writing or explaining the things. Now, I was part of the engagement, so when you're sitting there saying, hey, let's make sure that we get on the report how we did that authentication bypass using regular expression injection plus LDAP injection, and we modified our tokens, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, okay, I was there. I saw it happen. I know exactly how to phrase this and how to make this intelligible to someone. And that's another huge benefit. Or it could very well be that since I was on the engagement, I can help write the parts that I did that maybe you're not as familiar with because you didn't test that thing, that component, or because that's just not your forte. I mean, there's so many benefits to this, and it's so similar to in the developer world they have pair programming.
Yeah,
and it benefits the entire team every time. And there's one other really key thing that no one ever talks about, and that is if I'm constantly paired up with someone else on the team, someone different on the team, that ensures quality and consistency across the team. See, so you can't just pair me up always with Roniel over here because he's the Dark Knight.
Yeah, baby. Dark Knight.
If you do that, then quickly you lose the benefits of this, because now we get that group thing. Look, I know how you think, you know how I think, and so you're covering the things that you know I think about. I'm covering the things that I know you think about. And there's no one there to challenge our thinking. There's no one there to say we missed something. There's no one there who's checking our work. But importantly, we're also not spreading that talent, that skill set, and that quality evenly across the team. Whereas if we had a team of, say, 10 people, and we're constantly mixing and changing who's paired with whom, then that ensures that you have the same processes across the team. That ensures that your team is constantly giving themselves fresh ideas.
So let's mix in the group dynamic here. There are situations, and I want to see what you think about this. There's situations where you have the person that may be the third person that's a technical oversight that's actually looking at what everybody's doing and telling them what they may have missed or giving their ideas as well. But what if they don't know as much? And a lot of people that are on the team nowadays that we go to, those 1%, there's not a lot of 1%ers, those outliers. You have a lot of people that are on teams that don't understand. So if you pair somebody with somebody or several different people that are not as good in those areas, especially application security, then you have an issue. So that person is not growing, he's not learning, and then they also may collide with each other. So what are your thoughts about that and fixing that issue with that group dynamic?
I want to start off by saying the way I have always structured it is you have the absolute positive, most experienced, most expert person performing QA.
Yeah.
And of course, when we say this, we're not talking about, oh, well, does this look like all the other reports? Is it formatted right? And grammar and verbiage. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, is the technical content accurate? We have technical writers. Your technical writers should be the ones who are making sure that the formatting looks the same as all the others, that it's organized properly, and that the grammar and verbiage and linguistics involved are all appropriate and meaningful, that it's coherent and cohesive. What we're really talking about is, I'll give you a good example. I was on a big project that went south. It went south really badly. And we were doing engagements all across, actually, the world. The company was pulling teams from different locations across the company and throwing them at this, having them run these engagements. And to the point about quality, because they were from completely different locations and they only worked amongst themselves, no one was running tests the same. No one. The results were all different. They were actually holding the customer to different standards. Some were using DISA, some were using NIST, some were using the proper standards, and it was all over the place. And then, of course, their interpretation of the standards was completely non-standard. And the customer was livid. I wasn't doing QA on it initially, someone else was. And it was a cluster of unpleasantness. We'll leave it at that to keep the channel clean.
Yeah. Because that sounds crazy. Yeah, we're the cleanest channel in the world.
That's right. PG. we're rated G.
No rated R, huh?
No. Unlike the Dark Knight over there.
Hey, listen, if y'all haven't seen Batman, go see Batman, the Batman. Okay, it was really awesome. So, yes, Dark Knight here. And you see I'm two-faced because I got red and just blue, red and black, blue, something, navy blue. So, maybe. So, you got red team, blue team. I come from both areas. So, now we mix it with purple team.
That's right, purple team. Yeah. Well, anyway, what wound up happening was eventually QA fell into my lap, and I had to sit there and try to standardize all the content across all of these different reports. And then I also had to get all the teams on the same damn page so that they were all testing to the same standards, for the customer standards, the one that they were supposed to adhere to, not whatever the hell the test team thought. And that they were testing all in the same general way, and that the findings were all in the same general vein, and that people were being told things at certain gates instead of, this team spilled the beans and told them all their vulnerabilities on site. So they fixed it. And now what do? Because here's the problem with that. If you fixed all those vulnerabilities, what did you in overnight? And that was what was happening in some cases. What did you just show me? You have no change control.
Right. Yeah, no change control there. Wow.
That's a finding.
That's an issue, yeah.
That's a big issue. I mean, how do you know you didn't blow everything up and break it all? Just because you have an issue doesn't mean you immediately resolve it, half-cocked.
And that's what a lot of companies like to do. You literally have to go to a change control before you can change anything. And that way people know what's going on. And it also has to be approved.
Right. And hopefully it's been tested and all this other stuff. And people have made sure that, number one, it fixes the issue. Number two, it doesn't create new or worse issues.
Man, those times of doing a change order where I have to change or upgrade a server or upgrade Java or anything, and then it doesn't go with the current, especially if it's a different framework. It doesn't go with the current framework and the APIs and how it calls, and then it breaks everything, and then you're like, holy shit, I got to revert back. Yes, it's best that you test things in a safe environment before you actually roll out a change.
Yes. It's always so tempting, the auditor, the assessor, the penetration tester, whomever is there on the ground, and you want that clean report. So you're begging, you're pleading, telling them, hey, just reassess it. I swear it's been fixed. And really, you as an assessor, tester, whatever you want to call yourself, number one, you shouldn't. And number two, you should instead hit them on an additional finding for lack of proper change management and proper testing.
And you know what? To go back to that, with proper testing and your ideals, the things that I learned from you as well, when I go to especially is a difference being a contractor and a consultant, if you hit somebody in the consultant area for that stuff like that, no, we don't. That's not what we do. We don't. Like, what do you mean? Like, there have always been battles on why I claim this, and then I have to go back and say that because it's not the same. It's like we don't even speak the same language, and we're in the same field.
Right.
Except, one is doing things you can't talk about, and then the other one is still can't talk about, but it's not as top secret as what you're doing.
Right.
So,
getting back to the topic at hand, that winds up actually being one of the more interesting components to all of this is you constantly hear how our industry is starved for people. And then when you look at the government, they of course have requirements. You have to have TSSCI, top secret, things like that, or you have to have this, you have to have that, and then you have to have these certifications, and then you have to have these degrees. And really doing this paired approach or triumvirate, as the case may be, approach, you wind up providing room for individuals to transition into security and to do so in a safe way, meaning they're not going to blow stuff up. They're not going to, they can't screw up because they got people around them. And you're building up that talent pool at the same time, but it also lets you have that ejection. Let's say you decide that this individual they're not cut out for it, or they decide they're not cut out for it. Because something no one talks about with our industry, you have to be capable of learning on your own.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely. And you would learn that if you went to college as well. Or do any certifications or stuff like that. But if you go to college, you're not going to learn everything there. Everything and most of your time is going to be spent outside of school learning on your own. So The same way you get in this industry, different jobs, you got to be good at learning on your own. And it's a fast paced environment, so nobody's going to sit here and hold your hand and say, oh, you need to learn this new stuff. You need to be learning what's new and what's hot and learning how to defend, remediate, exploit, whatever. You need to learn that on your own. You need to be good at that, or otherwise you won't keep up.
That's exactly right. And this offers you the ability to see, as that third member or second member of the team, the gaps that you have. And here's the thing. You have the same thing when you're reading a report. So yes, as I said, for QA, you need to have your best people on it, your most technical people on it, who really know that subject and hopefully even know that system, but at least know that subject really well. So that when they look at it, they can help make sure that everything is accurate. But here's the thing. They weren't there. They may have an idea, but at the end of the day, those individuals, the ones doing QA, need to be so experienced that they also recognize what they don't know. They recognize, I wasn't there. You say that you saw this issue, so I have to take your word for it. To some degree, you really have to. And to some degree, QA is not the time for you to be learning necessarily. Not if you're the lead QA person. Now, here, I do want to say, having people read reports, as you said, is actually incredibly important and a great tool for people to learn. And that lets them see vulnerabilities and things that you found in the real world and maybe give them a little bit of an understanding.
The whole goal is you're going to have multiple people in an engagement. They're learning from each other. It doesn't matter if they're senior or junior or whatever. They're all going to learn from each other and pick up something that they can use in an assessment, or pick up some methodology or processes that they can also use as well. And it helps everybody grow. and everybody can become or be on the same page. Not still be as good as somebody else in the subject, but you can at least get to that point where you understand what they're doing.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's really one of the keys here. And that you have that built-in redundancy, you build in consistency, you build in a much stronger team through this method. You also burn your team out less, because it's not all the weight isn't on Roniel's shoulders to find everything. All the weight isn't on DaRon's shoulders to find everything. Now we've split it evenly, relatively evenly. When we do this, we also make it so that the team doesn't have to rotate if they have to travel as often, because travel burns people out. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. And I don't care if you're sitting there going, well, I'm young and single and I love and want to travel. It will burn you out.
Having multiple people on the team to do different things. The biggest thing is I see now is the issue again is that would be great in a perfect world, but you have a lot of issues where we go back to you don't have enough people trained up to do a specific thing like IoT. There's not a lot of people that may understand how to or be good at both or all of those aspects.
Yeah.
So you could pick and choose people to do certain things, but what if it's not a mobile web and it's a thick client, it's a hardware analysis, a physical analysis and different stuff and RF analysis, and not everybody's good at those things. That is one example that you should have people. If I'm the most experienced person and you're coming on site with me and you're doing an assessment and you got another person coming on site and maybe some of them are good at certain parts, but if they're not, then I can train them and show them the way I do things and help them understand the processes. So when they come on or do something else again, they'll be able to attack those differently or be able to look at it from a different perspective. But without doing that, then the team is not going to grow to have that skill set and be able to do that. So that puts a lot of weight on a person like myself to be the only one doing those things. And then I get to the point where I burn out and I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Because you get bored doing the same kinds of assessments or engagements every single time. And I'll finish off with two things. It's important when you're doing this that people understand, number one, you don't silo. I've seen this. When I was with Booz Allen, a lot of times they would silo. So your application security folks would be on the same engagement as the general testers, but it's like they were two separate teams. That doesn't help anyone. That doesn't help anyone. You can't do that. They need to be integrated and mixed. I mean, the development world has been doing this for some time now. So really, security needs to get its act together. There was never any reason for that. I always said, this is stupid. You shouldn't do that. But you also can't take the opportunity to learn from the other person to the detriment of the engagement. Meaning, I can't spend my entire time hovering over the other person's shoulder watching them. I need to be doing stuff too. And the same would go for them. It needs to be a balancing act between learning through watching and also participating.
Yep. Otherwise, you don't really get to put those skills in use.
Right.
And again, if they're on engagement, specific knowledge that they're good at and skill sets. So obviously, you got to participate and get your hands dirty. So I agree. Like I said, we as security professionals need to take, a page out of the programmers or development team's book is learning how to pair each other, pair programming or pair security, whatever, or individuals to work better and learn how to do different skill set or gain a skill set, So I think that's something that we should take away from the development teams is paired programming, or pairing people together. So I'm going to leave off with that. I'm Roniel.
I'm DaRon.
And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel and leave any comments below about any new topics that you would like us to discuss. And until then,
Have
later.
fun.